This is Bumper to Bumper, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I am Matt Allen along with Dave Riccio. And together, every Saturday at 11, we are your KTAR car guys, helping you with your car. So, as usual, we're here every Saturday. Doesn't matter if you have a question about your car, your truck. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently, though. We're talking motorcycles. Now's the time of year. The guys are out cruising. The weather's nice. I mean, we're a little bit behind the bike week and all that. And the motorcycles are on the road. And we've got to share the road with these guys that are out there. The cars need to pay attention. And so we thought it'd be helpful to bring in...
The event started off with...
Oh, okay. We thought it'd be helpful to bring somebody in to talk about that. So if you want to talk motorcycles or have questions, you can call us at 602-277-5827. And, of course, you can text anytime at 411-923. And, Dave, who have we brought in here today? You want to make the introduction?
Well, we pretend to know a lot about cars, which we don't, but one thing we know less about is motorcycles. So we've got Ron Ariely from the Team Arizona Motorcycle Training Centers. Hey, Ron, it's good to have you here. And how long have you been riding motorcycles?
Thanks, Dave. Matt, boy, I've been riding motorcycles a long time. I used to actually have hair when I started, and now I don't. So looking at well over 40 years.
40 years of riding bikes. I rode a dirt bike, when I was a kid, and, we're sitting here having a conversation about breakfast at motorcycles, and I realized I know nothing about motorcycles. I mean, I think it's one of those things where people think, hey, maybe I'm thinking about getting a motorcycle, don't really know, they're kind of, I don't know if my wife would like it, but I think I want one. Those are the kind of people that you guys train on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I run Team Arizona Motorcyclist Training Centers, and we have a full slate of courses. And you bring up the point, how do I get involved in motorcycling? We have an intro course as an example. There's a lot of people that are sitting around on the couch on a Saturday. They're looking out the window. They're saying a whole bunch of motorcycles at the neighbors, getting ready to go up to Jerome or Yarnell or God knows where, having a beautiful afternoon out on bikes. How do I do this? Is it for me? I'm not sure. I'm concerned. Well, we have a risk-reduced environment run by professionals. We supply motorcycles, helmets, and gloves, and you can come out and take an intro course. You can come out and get your license. We have a whole slate of courses just for motorcycling and to see if this is for you, all the way up to experienced riders that want to become more proficient.
Well, that's one thing that I thought interesting when we were talking at breakfast is who's the clientele, who's going to come to this, and of course the people that are going to come is anybody who just got a motorcycle, and they think they can ride a bicycle and they can get on a motorcycle, and yeah, they can ride the motorcycle, but are they proficient? Are they able to avoid an accident, or even better yet, be able to identify a bad situation? But it goes all the way to the guy who's been riding a motorcycle for a long time. And I use the analogy like the golfer. There's a lot of guys out there hacking away with golf clubs, and they're decent golfers, and they could probably do a better job than most. But I bet if they got some instruction, they would be that much better. And I think that's the same thing with you and the motorcycle training as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. That golf analogy is classic because look how much money people spend on becoming more proficient in golf. And one of the reasons is, first of all, they don't want to be embarrassed and have to buy the round of beer after the round of golf that they just lost. And the other reason is they want to have more enjoyment of the game with the equipment that they're using. They want to get the most out of it. Motorcycling's the same deal, with the exception, what can happen if you have a bad swing or something bad happens in golf?
They call it a bogey.
Yeah, not a whole lot. But if you mess up on the road on a motorcycle, it's a little bigger than a bogey. You have some serious issues coming. So it's the same deal, though. It's a sport. Motorcycling is not just a means of transportation. It takes hand-to-eye coordination, dexterity, balance. You need to be thinking while you're moving forward. Things are happening at a rate of speed that your brain's not always has not been used to assimilating. You need to be able to input controls and get a desired outcome. And what happens is the same thing in golf. If you invest in improving your riding skills, not only will you be safer, will the risk reduction factors be in your favor, you will also derive more enjoyment from your ride because you'll be able to utilize the motorcycle to its fullest technical potential, and you'll be a lot more relaxed and a lot comfortable. So the analogy is perfect.
And not to be confused with a high-performance driving school. That's not what
Correct.
this is. This is really skills to save your life and keep you being a responsible motorcyclist for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we talk about our upper level classes, we're not talking about teaching people how to go fast. We're not teaching people teaching people necessarily how to drag a knee in a corner. These are things that you don't do on the street. We're talking about if you enter a corner a little bit too fast for that corner in your skill level, how do you correct? What do you do things that your body instinctually really doesn't want to do? Your body doesn't want to lean a little bit more to correct if you go into a corner too fast, or if that corner that you're not familiar with is closing up, meaning it's getting tighter as you go through it. What do you do so you don't run wide on the roadway and hit a fixed object? What do you do so you don't cross over into the oncoming lane? These are things seemingly that are easy to talk about, but when you're out there and it's happening, they become exponentially more difficult to achieve.
Well, and you mentioned something that was surprising, that these, we think cars and motorcycles together not good. There could be accidents, but you were mentioning that a lot of these accidents, it's just one bike, one motorcycle, one person getting in an accident. What's the percentage?
According to most data, and actually the Insurance Safety Institute data as well, it's almost 50%. It's about 50 and change to multiple vehicle accidents, and in the high 40s for single vehicle accidents. So if you want to just go rough numbers, almost 50% of accident-involved motorcyclists have made a mistake of some sort. Or, of course, there could be this 1 in a million type blowout or odd technical issue. But for the most part, it's lack of skill.
Well, and besides the good reason to take one of your courses is to become a better rider and feel safer and such, there's other benefits to it. You mentioned the motorcycle or the Insurance Institute. You're just a regular rider and you're experienced and you know it all and you don't need the class, but you can save the cost of the class many, many times over just in insurance reduction because your courses are recognized by the insurance companies.
Absolutely. You get insurance discounts for taking the courses. Most of the dealerships in the Valley, if you purchase a motorcycle, will reimburse you either fully or partially for the course. More importantly, though, you touched on it, we have yet, and I personally have yet to meet a rider, and I can look every single one of them in the eye that ever comes up to me, and there is not one that I can recommend a course to them and guarantee them that they will get something out of it that will benefit their rider, and I don't care how long they've been riding. To speak to the basic riders, we offer a basic rider course. It's 15 hours. It's 5 hours of classroom and 10 hours of riding. We provide motorcycles, helmets, gloves. When you successfully complete this course, you will not have to take the state driving or written test. So we'll give you a waiver. You go down to MVD, they'll put an M endorsement, which is the operator's license, on your motorcycle. They'll put an M endorsement on your Arizona driver's license. It's $289. If you break that down into hourly fees, you can't get guitar lessons for your kids for $289 for 15 hours.
Well, one of the other courses, briefly, that you talked about is there's even an introduction course. So before you go out and buy that motorcycle, maybe you want to convince your wife, hey, honey, it's okay. I'll do a good job with this motorcycle. Look, I'm going to go take the course. I'm going to do my due diligence, make sure I'm all right, make sure I really want to have this before we go make the investment. And that's something you should be doing to score some brownie points with your better half at home is, hey, look, I'm doing all these things to make sure I'm going to be a safe rider and come home tonight too.
It's funny. I think we may have saved lots of marriages by our services because we eliminate the fear. Like I said, we have an intro course. People sitting on the fence want to know if motorcycling's for you. It's really basic. There's no waiver or endorsement involved. It's just to see whether motorcycling is for you. You don't even get to shift, but you get to sit on a bike, start it, ride it around, see if you're comfortable with it. Because let's face it, motorcycling is not for everyone. But if you are of that mindset that you do want to ride a motorcycle and you do want to get your endorsement and do it properly in a trained environment, then definitely the basic rider course with Team Arizona is the way to go.
For sure. Well, Ron, we're glad to have you in, and we also want to talk about some things about how we can watch out for motorcycles, knowing how motorcycles act and drive, and how to stay away from them. So today we're taking phone calls in regard to motorcycles. Still, if you got a question about your car, we're taking those as well at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTR. You can also text us at 411-923. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTR car guys, on the Bumper to Bumper radio show.
Few cities are as car-centric as Phoenix, and this is the show that'll help you to better understand that machine you depend on to get around the valley. It's Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM and the KTAR app for Android and iPhone.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are talking about automotive. But today we're focusing a little bit on two wheels, not so much on four wheels. But anything you want to talk about, you can get a hold of us at 602-277-5827. We've got Ron Ariely in with us from Team Arizona Motorcycle Training Centers. It's a mouthful to say. Ron, thanks for coming in. And it looks like we've got a call up here on line one, something about riding procedures. Let's see what we got. We've got Michael from Mesa. Michael, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I'm 65, and I've been riding since I was 15, pro motocross, street riding, everything. And what blows me away about people that I meet that ride, I'm not going to say it's Harley riders, but they expect people to watch out for them. And I've found motorcycles to be safer than a car as long as you realize that nobody sees you. So
Yeah,
there.
That's a good point. Michael, thanks for the call. Ron, when we were at breakfast, what did you said assume two things when you leave on the motorcycle, or at least assume one.
Well, definitely. When you're on the motorcycle, this is something I've been doing forever, and I'm sure many riders do, is once you assume that you're invisible from the minute you leave the house in your garage till the moment you come back. And basically what a lot of pieces of what we teach in terms of being conspicuous out on the motorcycle is moving around in a lane, within your lane. And this is not to be confused with swerving through lanes or lane splitting or any of that stuff. Within your lane, moving around so you make yourself visible to the other motorists on the road, and to increase your line of sight, and to give yourself options for escape routes. So many things that the caller alluded to are in fact true if you have a riding system that you've been trained under and abide by to achieve that. So yes, if you think you're invisible and you assume that, then it's really your responsibility to make yourself visible to others and to be in spots that keep you as safe as possible on the road.
Invisible, not to be confused with invincible.
Correct. Yes. The invincibility kind of goes away with the two-wheel aspect, yes.
The whole open cockpit. Thanks for the call, Michael. 602-277-5827. It looks like we've got Boris on four wheels in Scottsdale on a 2009 Nissan Altima. How can we help you today? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, good. How are you?
Good.
So I was actually driving from Tucson in my vehicle, and essentially what I was experiencing was essentially I was flooring the vehicle, and it just would not shift down so I could get, a higher rate of speed. My speed would just basically started dropping, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with my car.
What did any check engine lights come on, and then did it decide to change how it was operating at some point?
No, it had no lights. It was operating as normal at a certain point. It, when I needed to, you get in front of somebody, I press the pedal down, but it just would not shift down to get that higher rate of speed.
Could you maintain your 65 mile an hour speed and it was just that 65 to 75 to pass, or did you even have a difficult time maintaining your cruising speed as well?
Yes, I was flooring the vehicle and the speed was going down ever so slightly.
Okay.
But it didn't have a dramatic decrease, but just ever so slightly the speed was going down.
Well, if that's me and that's coming into my shop and we don't have any check engine light on or anything like that, my first feeling is I'm going to be looking at the exhaust system. Either the transmission's not shifting, it's not applying the power to the ground. But the fact is that the RPMs are not raised up. I would begin to think that the car's got restricted exhaust. Maybe you've got a bad catalytic converter or something like that. However, with no check engine light, you would think there would be something on leading up to that maybe caused that converter to fail. But that's the first place I'm looking, is doing an exhaust system back pressure test maybe.
Well, we're seeing more of this. I mean, this Nissan Altima has a CVT transmission in it, so they don't really react like people are used to them reacting. So you step on the gas and you floor it, your RPM's going to really stay about the same, but it's just going to vary. It's a constant variable transmission. So you're not going to get that downshift and that big rush. It's going to feel totally different. So I'm thinking it's a different feel to it, and if the transmission actually had an issue, I believe the check engine light would have come on. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't think it's operator error. I'm not saying that by any means, but just it operates differently than you might be used to. So thanks for the call, Morris. You can find more information at bumpertobumperradio.com. Next up, we're going to go with Jeff in Phoenix on a 1997 Cadillac DeVille. How can we help you, Jeff? You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, how's it going there?
Good.
Good. Yeah, what happens is when I turn my lights on, my signal lights don't work for some reason on the right-hand side. Whatever the signature, it has affected the lights in the radio, the lights in the console, the brake lights. But when I go to signal that I'm turning lights, the signal lights will come on at night. But when I have the lights on the brake, the rear lights aren't on. It has affected the lights inside on the have certain lights on the dash inside the door panel. They won't come on, just on the right side.
Just on the right side. Jeff, I had a hard time hearing all you were talking about with the lights. There's a lot of background noise there. But it sounds like you just have some weird gremlins as far as they're active. Some lights illuminate that are supposed to, like a running light when the headlights are off, but you turn them on and then other lights act differently. There's only a couple things that are going to cause those weird problems, and you're usually going to find a bad ground connection somewhere. So I'd start by maybe going at the battery if this is something you're looking at yourself. We've got to make sure we've got good battery connections. A lot of times maybe the starter's been changed out on the car and the main power wire or the fusible links aren't connected right. I'm not sure in that model year change when they started using a body control module to control lights, but lighting problems are strange.
Well, you mentioned the battery, and this is the first really hot day we've had. And, we had the guys from Interstate Battery on with us a couple of weeks ago. And Interstate Battery is the battery that Matt and I both carry in our shops for our customers. But it's that time of year where the topic of batteries is going to come up. And you mentioned the cables. How many cars come into your shop, Matt, where it's just a bad connection at the battery and it's causing all these weird voodoo, black magic problems, It's almost like the car had a stroke. Half of it's not working.
Yeah, I hate to say it. We had a car come in the shop yesterday. We put a battery in it 2 weeks ago. It had these weird problems. All these things. It was ever since you worked on it. It was our fault. I mean, it does happen occasionally. We for whatever reason, the technician didn't get the negative battery terminal on there correctly. And changing a battery, as dumb as it may sound, is not always as easy as one might think it'd be. They're tight fitting. They're really packed in. And now there's a lot of wiring on a lot of these battery connections and stuff. So it does happen. I mean, and even though you think, I just put the new battery and everything's good, go double check it.
Well, it's one of the first things. We have these trouble trees, check this. If that's okay, check this. If that's okay, check this. And the first thing on all those checklists is check the battery connections before you waste a ton of time doing other things. It's amazing. It's the first thing we do when we pull the car in the bay is to check the battery. Your battery is going to go out when it's not convenient. You're going to be going to a graduation party and click, nothing.
Let me rephrase that, Dave. The battery is the first thing you're supposed to check with it. We were having this debate again in my shop yesterday about he's going through, does this diagnostic. He spent a little bit of time, a half hour, 40 minutes, checking out his system. And then goes, oh, it's got a bad battery. Oh, we should have checked that the very first time. All goes back to basics.
Well, we got to share the road with bicycles, which is big for me. We got to share the road with motorcycles, which we've got someone in studio today talking about. We've got Ron Ariely from Team Arizona Motorcyclist Training, and we're answering questions about your car, and you get a hold of us at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTR car guys, with Bumper to Bumper Radio. We'll be right back.
This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and today we've got Ron Ariely with Team Arizona Motorcyclist Training Centers. So we're taking phone calls about your car. And if you got a car with two wheels, they wouldn't call it a car, they call it a motorcycle. You can give us a call, too, at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And it is that time of year for batteries, but more importantly, motorcycles. I'm thinking about getting a motorcycle. What do you think, Matt?
I just sold mine. So, I've been a dirt bike guy, dirt, quad, sand dunes. It would be enticing to be out on the road in a variety of different kinds. See, the problem is I'd have to have 3 different motorcycles. Like you have 3 or 4 different mountain bikes.
I do.
I mean, you'd have to have a cruiser. You need something a little sportier, and you got to have like something you can take to Crown King and then cruise on the road with. So some kind of dual sport. I mean, I'd have to get 3 to 5 bikes to really be able to satisfy all my tastes.
I got a text here from Rosie, and he wants to know what the heck kind of motorcycle is down there in the parking lot. It is a fancy-looking motorcycle, but I think Ron has the same problem. He's got all kinds of flavors, right?
Yes, having one motorcycle is definitely a problem because it's not possible.
It makes you want two.
I agree with Matt. They multiply rapidly. They're kind of like rabbits. You need the problem with having that is you always need a bigger garage. So, is Rosie drooling over my KTM down there?
It is a beautiful bike.
Yeah, I got a KTM, and it's an Austrian manufacturer, and it's a lot of fun. I have multiple motorcycles. I'm not into necessarily one brand, and one tool can't do everything. That's also one of the things we teach at Team Arizona. If you go to the motorcycletraining.com website, you'll find that there's a whole array of information, and it's there because one size does not fit all, not just in motorcycles, but in courses and training. So it's all across the board, and you can't have too many in the garage.
The other thing that is interesting about your class, too, that we talked about, go do it. I mean, if you're committed, you're getting a motorcycle, go take this class, go get your motorcycle endorsement, because you're going to have a heck of a lot more fun when you're shopping for the bike, too. You might be able to go to the dealership and instead of letting you ride around the parking lot, maybe they're going to have the manufacturer out there doing rides, and you're going to be able to go take that bike on a ride because you're going to be able to say, hey, I went to Ron's class. I went to Team Arizona. I'm proficient on the bike. I've got my motorcycle. And most likely they're going to say, then go make sure you like it before you buy it, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's great to be able to try before you buy. And like you said, a lot of the dealerships, most of them, they have some sort of demo ride. If it's not a monthly thing, if it's not the factory comes with the factory demo ride bikes, some of them have rentals. There's all sorts of ways. So just seek out your local dealership. You need an endorsement. That's the first thing. And to get an endorsement, you take our class, you get the endorsement, you get the bike, then you come back for the Confident Riders course or the Advanced Rider training, because what we teach you on the small basic loaner bikes that we offer is the techniques, but what the bike does with your input of those techniques differs based on the type of motorcycle, the size, the engine, the seating position. So you really want to become comfortable with all that. But there's a stepping stone process to all of this, and it takes you right to the dealerships.
Well, we've got Wayne, Eric, and Michael up, but I realize we're ignoring our text, so I'm going to go a text here, Matt. Is there anyone in town, parentheses, besides the dealer, who can program key fobs? They've got a 2006 Chevy Uplander minivan. And Matt, I know at Virginia Auto Service you guys can program key fobs. Am I correct in saying that?
That is correct. I do have my locksmith license and bond and all that stuff. So even these, whether it's the Chevrolet with the key fob or the Toyota where you've got, or BMW, Mercedes especially, where they have these, they call them theft relevant parts. You can't buy them unless, the FBI knows who you are and all this crazy hoops that they make you jump through. I've got all the licensing to do that, so we do it on a very regular basis.
I just went through that procedure to be able to buy those theft-related parts, and man, they look at everything.
Yeah, they
fill out all kind of paperwork to get that.
And you were sweating it, I bet, huh?
No,
thinking,
right?
Oh man, they're gonna find out about all that. They're emptying out Dave's closet.
I had to go with one of my aliases. I went with my maiden name. I think that's how I got through. So we're gonna go with Wayne on a 2013 Toyota Tacoma. Hey Wayne, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. What can we help you with today?
Yeah, I've got an intermittent air conditioning problem. It's still under warranty. I have the extended warranty, and of course the dealership says there's nothing wrong with it. Periodically, what will happen is the air conditioner, I'll feel the warm air, and I'll see the air conditioner light blinking on and off, where you press the AC to engage the air conditioner. So what happens when it's blinking is I get warm air, I open the hood, and I see that the compressor's not turning. So obviously something's not commanding the compressor right or something. So is there some hints I can give the dealer so they can fix the darn thing?
When you say intermittent, does that happen once a week, once a month, or once every quarter?
It happens in the summer, of course, when you're using it. It probably happens once every couple of weeks.
Once every couple of weeks. It's a little tough to find, but the fact that light's blinking, Matt, is there going to be a diagnostic trouble codes in the system?
I'm just not sure on that car if there's anything in the computer system that is monitoring. If there's an air conditioning control module that actually shows you live data or will store faults, I'm just not sure on that one. But yeah, there's something happening. It's not liking a pressure. There's something that the system is not liking, whether it's just getting a false low pressure reading. One thing I would be looking at, but it sounds to me, if you've had it to the dealer and you're taking care of the car, a dirty cabin air filter can cause freezing and cause the evaporator to freeze up, which is going to lower the pressure in the system, and then it's going to shut off. It's going to be an override. So that
okay. I replaced that last year, and this morning the light just started blinking intermittently like it does. But that was right after startup, so it had only been running like a minute.
Okay,
so I don't think it was a freeze up.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Then, and that's that's what I was originally saying. That would be a stretch in this case. So it's just a matter of somebody's going to have to get it while it's acting up, not working. Ideally, they could experience the problem themselves. I guess if it was at my shop at Virginia Auto, we have the Toyota Factories tool. We would hook up to that and just see what we can monitor. And you did say it's under the extended warranty. That doesn't mean you have to go back to the dealer. That extended warranty company, we do that all the time in my shop. We just call them. The only thing, and the same with the dealer, you're just on the hook for the diagnosis until we know it's a covered component. You maybe shouldn't be under the illusion that everything's covered because I have the warranty. It's going to be pretty specific about what the coverage is.
Intermittent problems are a problem for all shops. I don't care who you are, unless they've got a sufficient crystal ball. In my shop, we still haven't figured out how to read that thing. Right. But when it's an intermittent issue, I mean, what are we going to do? What are we going to replace? And especially in the case where you got an extended warranty company, because we're not talking to the consumer. We've got to go sell it to the warranty company and say, hey, here's what we found, and they got nothing to recommend because nothing tested bad for them. So what's the test? There's nothing objective there for them to replace a part.
Well, and a lot of times they're not going to pay for the testing or the diagnosis that it takes to find this problem. You may be on the hook for that. They may pay for it. I mean, really the way it works is you have to commit to it until they know it's a covered component that has failed. So they're not going to sign up for diagnosis to find out that the XYZ valve is bad, but the XYZ valve is not a covered component. So it can be a little tricky.
Hey, Wayne, we didn't get what part of town you're in, but if you're looking for a shop, you want to try something different than the dealer, you can go to bumpertobumperradio.com. There's a map there. Pick a shop close to you. Any of those shops on there are good. They're shops that Matt and I both believe in. The other thing that's there, since we've got Ron from Team Arizona Motorcycle Training, you can go on our Facebook page. While you're there, be sure to like Matt and I. We're low on friends. We could use some more. At the same time, you can find out more about Team Arizona. And if you want, or maybe your wife wants to talk you into letting her get a motorcycle, that can all happen with Team Arizona. So thanks so much for the call. We're going to go with Michael in Phoenix on a 1997 Ford Escort. Hey, Mike, you're on Bumper to Bumper Radio. How can we help you?
Hi. I recently got my my manual clutch replaced. Well, after about a week of driving, it went out, and I was just wondering what would cause that.
When you say it went out, clutches fail in two ways. They fail to either connect, which means they're slipping, or they fail to disconnect, which means you push the clutch and it doesn't disconnect and you can't shift gears. Which one of those problems are you having?
Well, I pushed the clutch pedal in, and there's no return on it. And with the vehicle off, I'm not able to get it into gear.
Okay. You have a clutch disengagement issue. So the clutch is holding, so you had the clutch replaced. That's only half of the system. So that's the engagement part. The disengagement part, that's going to be a hydraulic system. So there's going to be a clutch master cylinder. It looks like a brake master cylinder, and it's connected to that pedal. And then on the other end, you got a clutch slave cylinder, much like you would have a brake wheel cylinder. Same concept. So you're pushing the pedal in, that's connected to the clutch master cylinder, which is on that firewall, and then there's a line that runs down to the clutch slave cylinder. So I think we have a problem there. In a lot of cases, those can be replaced without removing the transmission.
Well, but he did say something interesting, Dave. I don't know if you picked up. He said even he can't shift it into gear with the engine not running. So, and this clutch was just replaced couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Maybe we have a situation where the shifter linkage, maybe we don't really have a clutch problem. He just can't get it into gear, and he relates as a clutch problem. And there's, depending on the system, the setup for this particular car, there's bushings, there's cables, there's different levers. And sometimes just by going in and taking the transmission out to do the clutch and put it back together, you disturb. There's cumulative wear. There's a little bit of wear in all those bushings, and now somebody's disrupted it and won't go into gear. So I think you need to go back to the shop, have them take a look at it, and maybe it's just a little bit of cleaning up some of the work, some housekeeping that maybe should have been done when the clutch was done.
It's time for Fact or Fiction.
Now that we have a professional on the show, Ron from Team Arizona Motorcyclist Training Centers, I thought we'd do motorcycle questions today. So, Matt, I'm going to ask you to see what you know about motorcycles. Fact or fiction, an automobile stops faster than a motorcycle. Fact or fiction?
I have some ideas. You got to put me on the spot and make me be the one to look bad, huh?
That's right.
Trying to bring me down to your level. Well, I don't know. The car, it depends on the car. Maybe let's talk about, if it's that Escort, I think the motorcycle is going to stop faster. But, you take a high-performance sports car, got a big contact patch with the ground with those tires, you got big old 4-piston disc brakes all the way around. I'm thinking it could be a car. But,
so you think a car. Well, we're talking about the sports car. Let's talk about the KTM down there with the 2 brake rotors on the front. That seems like that stopped pretty fast.
Right.
So fact or fiction? You got to make a call.
Well, I guess I'll go with. I'm going to say maybe the car. The car can stop faster.
It's got 4 tires. It only makes sense, right?
Right. Bigger brakes, bigger tires, but it's got more weight. So I have a feeling I'm going to stand corrected here in a second.
Well, Ron, what's your call?
Matt stands corrected.
always corrected.
I'm a good sport. I do play along, okay? Now.
Yeah, 40 to 60%, depending on the speed. Because also, not only do you have the lighter weight, with a skilled motorcyclist, you can really get on the brakes, and that KTM and most of the other motorcycles on the market today, they also have ABS on both wheels.
ABS on motorcycles. I
So,
didn't even know that.
That's something to consider also as a driver in a car is, we want to alert the car drivers. If there's an emergency situation in front of you which requires emergency braking and there's a motorcyclist in front of you, give him some space, because if he needs to get on the brakes in a straight line emergency braking procedure, he will probably outbrake you. And if he does, you're going to be collecting him from behind, and that's on you, not on him. Unfortunately, he will get severely injured, and that's also on you. So give the riders space out there.
Plenty of space. Well, I got one more here, Matt. We'll see if you can redeem yourself. You need a special license to ride a motorcycle. Fact or fiction?
Well, see here. I'm going to say fiction. Yeah, because I can ride a motorcycle and I don't have a license, so you don't need that darn piece of paper.
That's true.
That's nothing but a piece of paper. What are you talking about?
Straighten him out, Ron.
All right. 0 for 2, I believe. So basically, wrong. You do need a motorcycle endorsement. And when I say endorsement, that is a special license. That's what you get at motorcycletraining.com through our courses, even not the basic rider course. If you have a permit or if you're already riding a motorcycle and you don't want to go down to MVD, come in, do our 5-hour course on your bike. You already have a permit. We can get you through that testing procedure by taking our complete Confident Riders course, which is another course that we have. You need an M endorsement. If you don't have an M endorsement, if you get pulled over and you don't have your license on you, your bike can get impounded. You can take a taxi ride home. You will have to pay for the transport of your bike, the impound, the court case. You could be easily looking at being out, easily about $3,000 right off the top. So
just go take the course.
There you go.
For sure. We got time for a couple more calls at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave, your KTR car guys on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Fix it or forget it. This is the show that'll help you decide what to do with your car. Bumper to Bumper Radio. KTAR News on 92.3 FM.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we've got Ron Ariely from Team Arizona Motorcyclist Training Centers. We're talking about cars. We're talking about motorcycles. We're talking about anything you want to talk about. 602-277-5827. We got time for a call or two. And last weekend we were off. I was sipping Long Island iced teas on my pool deck.
Working on that problem still?
Yeah. Where were you last week?
Yeah, well, it's nice. We're a little rusty coming back after having a weekend off, a nice 3-day weekend. I got to go enjoy for the first time the Indy 500. I was a guest of Bosch. And I got to tell you, what an experience. I mean, I'm a race fan through and through. I used to be a crew member for Porsche, working on race cars on race day in the pits, and been to just about every racetrack. But I had never been to the Indy 500 or the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And what a time. I mean, first off, my pick, Juan Montoya, won the race. So that was good. And then Penske, too. Penske perfect. Roger Penske does everything first class, but just being able to go around, I had pit passes and garage passes, and to be able to go through the garage and be there with the people from Bosch was just amazing. And then Bosch is a company that there is not an automobile produced in the world, unless it's one of maybe made in China or made in India, that doesn't have Bosch parts on it. Everybody thinks of Bosch as washers and dryers and microwaves and dishwashers, but really Bosch's roots are in the automotive business and really relays and in diesel fuel injection and everything. And we're a Bosch service center, Virginia Auto Service is, and what a great company and what a great event. The Indy 500. I can't wait. I'm conflicted. I don't know if I want to go back because I may be disappointed because it was
been raised too high.
The weather was good and everything was perfect. And you talk about a patriotic event. I mean, God Bless America, the national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, all the marching bands, all that Midwest hospitality. It was just cool. And I was able to take my dad, so we had a great time. And I have to actually thank my wife for being the one to initiate that. We probably wouldn't have gone if it weren't for her pushing.
Hey, Edith, I hope you're listening. Take notes. I don't know that I've ever heard that before. So,
thank you. Yeah, write that one down. So hopefully she makes me do it more. Well, it was a good time.
I'm looking at our text, and there's a couple of praises I got in here for Ron at Team Arizona. Some people that have taken the course over the years, and knew nothing about motorcycles, and I think there's a lot of people that sit around and are like, I don't know, could I ride a motorcycle? Do I want to ride a motorcycle? And that's where you guys come in. I got another text here. It says, anything riders can practice in a vacant lot as a home improvement for motorcycle safety, Ron? Is there anything they can do, or just take the course?
Well, basically, unless you know what you're doing in that vacant lot, and unless you have someone looking at you that can professionally and proficiently evaluate what you're doing, you can't really do it on your own. What we do suggest is once people have come to the courses and taken some of our courses, yes, definitely practice what we teach you in a vacant lot. If you go to motorcycletraining.com, there's a ton of information, FAQs, there's all sorts of information out there for you. And the one thing is, take the training and continue to practice and practice. Our catchphrase is your road to ride for life. Be a lifelong learner. Take refresher courses. Ride within your own skill limits and obey traffic laws. These are all things that you do ongoingly on your own. But take the first step. Seek professional help.
There's a Robert Bosch quote. Speaking of Bosch and motorcycles, and it has to do with him and training and their engineering and trying to always be the best. And he says, those who stop being better stop being good. Because everybody else is going to get better and you will be left behind because they're training. And that's the same thing with the motorcycle. You've always got to be honing those skills because you never know what's going to be out there. And if you don't continue to practice being a good rider, you won't be a good rider anymore.
Your skills erode. As we get older, as things change, our skills erode. It's like I said, it's a sport as well as a means of transportation. And if you don't continue to practice your sport, even on the elite level, the reason these people stay at the elite level is they continue to practice. I was just at a racetrack last week. I constantly am taking courses. I go to these places so that I can be mentored by people that know far more than me and are far more proficient. So, we practice what we preach.
Well, thanks for joining us here at Bumper to Bumper Radio. If you're looking for a great shop, bumpertobumperradio.com. While you're there, be sure to like us on Facebook. You can also find the link on Bumper to Bumper for Team Arizona Motorcycle Specialist Training Centers. Thanks, Ron, for coming in. Thanks, Bree, for answering the phones and running the show. We'll see you next week. Remember not to text and drive.